They told you to be patient. They told you God's timing is perfect. But deep down, you're wondering if maybe He forgot about you. You've done everything you were supposed to do, the prayers, the discipline, the long nights and quiet tears. And still the breakthrough hasn't come. Still the doors remain closed. Still, your name hasn't been called. So you start asking dangerous questions. Is it me? Did I miss it? Did I waste it? Why them and not me? But what if the delay wasn't denial, it was development? What if God isn't holding you back? He's preparing you to hold more than you thought possible. You don't bake a diamond in sunlight. You forge it in pressure, in heat, in silence. You don't develop strength in ease. You build it when nothing makes sense, but you move anyway. You've been begging for elevation. But God knows to go higher, you first have to go deeper. And the truth is, you've been hidden not because you're forgotten, but because you're being fortified. God doesn't launch what hasn't been built to last. And some foundations take longer to pour because the structure they're meant to carry is massive. You think this season is punishment. It's not. It's precision. The silence is not rejection. It's refinement. You're not in a holding pattern. You're in the hands of a master craftsman. And the longer he holds you, the more specific the assignment. God doesn't rush greatness. He refines it. He strips away what cannot follow you into your next level. The ego, the fear, the shortcuts, the applause addiction, the comfort of being liked instead of being called. You're not waiting for your future. Your future is waiting for you to become someone who can handle it. And becoming real, becoming hurts. Because it demands subtraction before multiplication. It demands pruning before fruit. It demands privacy before platform. You see everyone being blessed, blowing up, being celebrated. But don't confuse visibility with value. God doesn't give you influence to prove your worth. He gives you silence to build it. Ask Noah. God gave him an instruction. Then silence. No confirmation. No encouragement. Just hammering wood for years while everyone else mocked the vision. Ask David, anointed as king, then sent back to the sheep field to smell like animals, to be forgotten in the lineup. Ask Joseph, given a dream, then sold, slandered, silenced, not promoted but imprisoned. Every one of them delayed, not because they lacked favor, but because favor without formation becomes fragility. You want the crown, but can you carry the cross that forges the character required to wear it? That's what this season is. It's not wasted. It's working. You don't see it yet. But the unseen is where the real work happens. It's not glamorous. There's no applause, just long nights, hard silence, and the internal fight to believe when the results say stop. But what if the absence of the outcome is the assignment? What if this isn't a delay? It's a download. What if God is downloading the habits, the mindset, the resilience, the vision that you'll need, not for the dream, but for the weight of it? See, everybody wants the dream, but not everyone is willing to be developed for it. They want speed. God moves through sequence, because fast success that finds an unprepared soul becomes a curse. But the dream that meets a developed identity, that's legacy. And legacy takes longer. Because God isn't just building the outcome, He's building you. You don't get to skip the soil and still bear fruit. You don't get to avoid obscurity and still walk in authority. You don't get to bypass brokenness and still carry the anointing to heal others. Your depth must match your destiny, or the destiny will destroy you. So if you're in the dark right now, good. Stay there. Lean in. Because roots don't grow in sunlight. They grow in silence, in stillness, in the unseen. And right now, God is growing something in you. Something stable. Something immovable. Something that doesn't shake every time your likes go down or people stop clapping. That kind of resilience doesn't come from momentum. It comes from isolation, from walking through the valley and realizing you're still breathing, still building, still called. The storm didn't break you, it baptized you. And now you're dangerous, not because of what you have, but because of what didn't kill you. You've been tried, you've been tested, you've been delayed, but you didn't die. You didn't settle, you didn't quit. And because of that, you are being developed, not for influence, but for impact, not for applause, but for assignment. God isn't trying to promote you, He's trying to prepare you, because what He's building through you isn't fragile, it's eternal. So stop asking, when will it happen? Start asking, who am I becoming? Because you don't attract what you want. You attract what you've been developed to carry. And the blessing you're asking for, it's already done. It's already written. But God won't release what will ruin you. He will not fund your dysfunction. He will not accelerate your ego. He will not answer your prayer if it means losing your soul to gain a platform. So He delays, not to frustrate you, to form you, to strip away everything false so that when the promise comes, you don't just receive it, you sustain it. Look around. We've built a world obsessed with speed. Faster downloads, faster deliveries, faster dreams. But what comes fast fades faster. What is built fast breaks easy. That's why God doesn't operate on your clock. He's not trying to impress you. He's trying to equip you. Because if He gave it to you now, you'd still fumble it with old habits, still sabotage it with the same insecurities, still break under the same weight that buried you before. So instead, He slows you down, not to punish you, but to purify you, not to humiliate you, but to humble you. So when it comes, you don't apologize for it. You walk in it, with clarity, with peace, with authority. You don't become that person by accident. You become it through fire, through silence, through discipline when no one's watching, through nights when God says nothing, and you stay anyway. And that silence, it's not empty. It's filled with formation. Because you don't need more answers right now. You need to become the kind of person who can handle the answers you're asking for. Let that sink in. Your destiny is not waiting on a yes. It's waiting on your alignment. And alignment isn't easy. It costs. You will have to lay some things down. Your timelines, your pride, your comfort, your need to be seen, your need to be approved. God will not build on top of clutter. So He cleans house. He removes distractions. He pulls you out of rooms where you no longer fit. He shuts doors you tried to pry open, not because He's cruel, but because He's constructing capacity. You ask to go higher, but higher always means heavier, and no one gets handed the weight of greatness without first training in private. You don't see that in the highlight reels. You don't hear that in most success stories. But look deeper, and the truth is always the same. Before God uses someone publicly, He refines them privately. And refinement feels like rejection. It feels like delay. It feels like silence. But it's not a void. It's a furnace. And if you stay in the furnace long enough, the gold starts to emerge. So if life feels heavy, right now, good. You're being forged. If your name isn't being called yet, good. You're being protected. If the door is still shut, good. You're still being sharpened. Because when it opens, when the calling pulls you out of hiding, you won't be guessing who you are. You'll already know. That kind of power doesn't need an announcement. It walks in the room and the room adjusts. But to carry that, you need seasons like this. Seasons where the only audience is God. Where the only progress is invisible. Where the only strength is spiritual. Let me tell you something true. Every seed looks like nothing for a while. It disappears into the dirt, buried, hidden, ignored. But the darkness isn't death, it's development. And if you dig it up too early, if you try to rush the process, you kill the potential before it even breathes. Some of you are trying to harvest what hasn't rooted yet. You're looking for fruit in a season meant for roots. But hear me, roots are what make you unshakable. And God would rather take His time building you into someone who lasts than let you explode into someone who crumbles. So stop asking, when will it grow? Start asking, what still needs to die in me so I can rise the right way? Maybe it's pride, maybe it's fear, maybe it's the addiction to being seen instead of being ready. Whatever it is, let it burn. Let the fire purify. Let the silence sanctify. Let the delay do what it came to do. Because the version of you who's frustrated with waiting is not the version that can handle what you've been praying for. And that's okay. You're not behind. You're just still becoming. When Thomas Edison was inventing the light bulb, he failed over 1,000 times. They said he was wasting time. He said he wasn't failing. He was discovering what didn't work. He wasn't delayed. He was being developed. Because what he was building had never been done before. And that kind of vision demands preparation. God sees your future the same way. He knows exactly what it will cost. And He's making sure you can afford it, not in money, but in mindset. Not in ambition, but in alignment. And alignment is forged in obedience. Obedience when it's boring. Obedience when it's slow. Obedience when the dream feels distant, but the discipline still shows up. That's not delay, that's design. God doesn't do microwaves. He does slow fires. Because slow fires cook character. Slow fires burn off pride. Slow fires make sure when you rise, you don't rise alone. You rise as someone who can lift others. That's the whole point. You're not just being developed for you. You're being developed so you can carry someone else's breakthrough too. You're being shaped to speak to people who felt what you're feeling. You're being stretched so that one day when they say, "It's too hard," you can say, "I know. I've been there, and I'm still here." Your testimony isn't just for applause, it's for assignment. So hold the line. Stay in the process. You're not missing out, you're being made. And when it's time, not your time, His time, everything will move faster than you imagined. Doors will open that no man can shut. People will ask, "Where did you come from?" And you'll smile, because you know. You didn't come out of nowhere. You came out of development. You were built in the dark, strengthened in silence, trained when no one was watching. And now you're ready. You want to know why God's taking His time? Because what He's building through you has to outlive you. It's not about the platform, it's about the foundation. Not about going viral, but about going deep enough so that when the storms come, you don't get blown away with the noise. He's not interested in helping you look impressive. He's interested in making you immovable, because blessings come with weight. And you don't lift heavy things with a shallow spine. You build core strength in obscurity. You build resilience in repetition. You build faith when nothing moves, and you move anyway. This is why so many people never make it. They want the result, but not the refining. They want the reward, but not the reshaping. They want the crown, but not the cost. But make no mistake, the cost is everything. It will ask for your comfort. It will ask for your time. It will ask for your excuses, your crutches, your coping mechanisms. And eventually, it will ask for your old identity. Because that version of you, the one that needs likes to feel seen, that fears rejection, that questions everything. When life gets quiet, that version won't survive the next level. That version will self-sabotage the very thing you've been praying for. So God in His mercy delays it until you're ready to walk into it without wrecking it. You think He's silent because He's distant. But what if He's silent because He's surgical? What if He's working in the deep places, the parts you don't post about, the thoughts you don't say out loud, the wounds no one claps for healing? This season isn't surface. It's soul. It's not glamorous, but it's glorious. Because this is where God upgrades not just your life, but your identity. And identity is the root of everything. You don't act like who you want to be. You act like who you believe you are. That's why He's been pruning so much. The people who left, the plans that fell apart, the doors that closed. None of it was random. Every disappointment was a tool. Every delay was a hammer. Every detour was a chisel in the hands of the one who's not building what you asked for. He's building what you were created for. And those two things, they're not always the same. Because you ask for comfort, He gives you calling. You ask for speed, He gives you structure. You ask for a shortcut, and He gives you separation. Separation from what? From the crowd, from the noise, from every part of you that would have settled for applause instead of assignment. You want to rise, then expect to be set apart. Expect isolation. Expect misunderstanding. Because God doesn't develop leaders in the spotlight. He develops them in the shadows. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before he spoke to Pharaoh. Jesus spent 30 years in silence before he stepped into public ministry. Even Paul disappeared for 3 years after his conversion, not preaching, but being reformed. Why? Because calling without character is combustion. It explodes fast and burns out faster. And God didn't call you to burn out. He called you to build out. So let Him build you, even when it's boring, even when it's lonely, even when nothing looks like it's working. Let Him build the strength to hold the weight, the wisdom to lead through storms, the clarity to say no when distraction knocks, dressed like opportunity. Let Him build the version of you who doesn't need a crowd to stay committed, only a calling. Because when that version of you rises, doors open without noise, connections appear without begging, opportunities align without striving. Why? Because heaven responds to alignment, not anxiety. And when you are aligned internally, spiritually, intentionally, you don't chase. You attract. But not until the work is done. Not until the roots are deep. Not until the old you dies, so the called you can rise. And yes, that process will be uncomfortable. It will look like nothing is happening. It will feel like everyone else is moving while you're standing still. But stillness is not stagnation. It's sacred. It's where the shift happens. It's where you learn to operate without emotional dependency, where you stop asking for signs and start moving from certainty. That's what's being developed here. Not just a result, but a rooted version of you who knows how to move with conviction when the world goes quiet. And when the world does get loud again, you won't get lost in it. Because you were trained in the silence. You'll walk into rooms without shrinking. You'll make decisions without doubting. You'll build what others can't see, and keep building when they laugh, when they leave, when they ignore it. Why? Because your foundation wasn't built on public applause, it was built on private obedience. You won't be moved by noise because you weren't made in it. You were made in the deep. So if you're in the deep right now, if it feels like you've been left behind, if your prayers are quiet echoes and your progress is invisible, don't panic. Don't quit. Don't chase something smaller just to feel something now. Because when you plant something real, you don't dig it up every week to check if it's growing. You protect it. You water it. You trust the process. Because you know what's coming even if they don't yet. Some of you are frustrated because you planted a vision, but haven't seen the harvest. You keep checking the field, looking for fruit, wondering if you got it wrong. But harvest doesn't come to those who watch. It comes to those who work. God didn't ask you to check the results. He asked you to keep planting. Because the soil doesn't reveal the root. Not right away. It holds it in secret. Just like your life right now, roots growing where no one sees. That's why He's been quiet. Because the growth you need most right now, is silent. If you saw it too early, you'd stop digging. If you got rewarded too fast, you'd stop refining. But the longer the root takes, the stronger it grows. And the deeper it goes, the higher the tree can rise. That's how God builds longevity, not by blessing what's shallow, but by deepening what's hidden. And yes, that process will make you question everything, because it doesn't feel fair, it doesn't feel fun, and it definitely doesn't feel fast. But what it does feel like is formation. And formation is almost always uncomfortable, because something is dying. Not you, but the version of you that could never hold what's coming. This is the version that second-guesses the calling, that waits to feel qualified before moving, that craves visibility more than vision. That's the version being stripped away. God is not ignoring you. He's investing in you. And investment looks like pressure, looks like long days and longer nights, looks like being told not yet again and again until yes would no longer be a reward, but a recognition of what you've already become. You don't want it before you're ready, because what comes before you're ready becomes a burden. But what comes after development becomes divine alignment. There is a version of you God sees that you haven't met yet. The builder, the finisher, the firewalker, the leader who's unfazed by storms because they were raised in them. And he will delay your breakthrough if it means protecting that version of you from premature exposure. Because favor without formation is failure in disguise. And God is not in the business of launching fragile leaders. He's in the business of developing giants. Giants of faith, giants of focus, giants of endurance, people who don't just dream, they deliver. So if you feel behind, let me tell you something loud and clear. You are not late. You are being calibrated. The delay you hate is actually the development you need. And if you stay in it, if you stop fighting the furnace and start trusting the fire, you'll walk out refined, not ruined. You'll emerge not just gifted, but grounded. Not just visible, but valuable. Not just called, but commissioned. Because many are called, but few stay in the fire long enough to become chosen. It's easy to start. It's easy to declare a vision. But sticking through the silent middle, that's where champions are built. In the silence where there's no applause. In the routine that feels like it's not working. In the prayer that feels unanswered, but you keep praying. In the plan that feels buried, but you keep building. That's the development season. And it's sacred. Not because it feels good, but because it makes you good. Good enough to carry the thing without letting it carry you away. Because there's nothing worse than getting the thing you asked for and not being ready. You don't want the door to open if you're still insecure. You don't want the stage if your identity still needs the spotlight. You don't want the influence if you're still addicted to affirmation. No, let God finish His work. Let Him build the version of you who doesn't just have it, but stewards it. Because that's the kind of life that lasts. Not viral, vital. And when it's time, when the moment arrives, you won't be surprised. Because you'll know the wait wasn't wasted. The silence was a signal. The setback was a setup. The crushing was crafting capacity. And now you don't walk into the room needing to prove anything. You walk in with presence, with poise, with peace. Not because of who's watching, but because of who you became in the dark. That's where legacies are born. In the seasons no one sees. In the fire that refines the soul. In the stillness where obedience drowns out overthinking. You are being shaped to carry something eternal. And eternity takes longer to build. So don't rush it. Don't resent it. Don't run from it. Let it do what it came to do. Let it kill what's false. Let it resurrect what's real. Let it bring you face to face with the version of you that never settles again. Because when you rise from this pursuit, you'll move differently. You'll speak with weight. You'll walk with quiet power. Not because you chased it, but because you outlasted everything that tried to kill it in you. This is what development does. It doesn't give you something new. It reveals what was already inside you the whole time. You're not being punished. You're being prepared. You're not stuck. You're being strengthened. You're not forgotten. You're being forged. So stop trying to speed it up. Just say yes to the fire. Say yes to the silence. Say yes to the process. Because God isn't delaying you. He's developing you. This is where the building gets serious. This is the part no one claps for. This is where your faith is no longer a theory, it becomes a tool, a sword, a shield. Because now you're not just believing in what God can do. You're believing in why He hasn't done it yet. You're learning to trust delay as divine. You're learning that unanswered prayers aren't always rejection. Sometimes they're redirection. Sometimes they're God saying, I have more for you than you asked for, but I need more from you first. And that's the tension. We want elevation, but we don't want the excavation. We want the mountaintop, but not the digging. We want to be seen, but God wants us solid. And solid doesn't come through ease. It comes through pressure, through being misunderstood and showing up anyway, through being left out and still rising with character, through watching others get their turn and still not questioning your timeline, because you finally realize comparison is the thief of development. The more you look at them, the less you can hear Him. And if you can't hear Him, you'll build the wrong thing. You'll chase what looks like success, but feels like emptiness. So God takes you out of the crowd, not to isolate you, but to insulate you. Because before you can lead others, you have to be able to walk alone. Before you can carry weight, you have to be able to stand when no one else is standing with you. Before He multiplies your voice, He has to strengthen your silence. He pulls you aside not because you're weak, but because you're being weaponized. And weapons are forged, not mass-produced. That's what this season is. It's not a punishment, it's a workshop. He's tempering your steel. He's sharpening your edge. He's building the version of you that can walk into any room and not flinch, because you've already survived what would have crushed other people. And no one will understand how you're so calm, so grounded, so clear. But you'll know, because you were trained in a season they never saw. You were breaking curses while others were breaking routines. You were fasting, praying, choosing character when no one was watching. You were building when there was no evidence. You were becoming while no one clapped. That kind of preparation cannot be faked, and it cannot be rushed. So let God take His time. Let Him build it right. Because when He finishes, you won't rise out of insecurity. You won't launch from desperation. You won't move just to prove something. You'll move because you're anchored. You'll rise not because of the fire in the moment, but because of the fire that's been burning in your discipline for years. And it's not loud. It doesn't need to be. Real power is quiet, unshakable, certain, built on a foundation the world didn't see, but heaven documented. And when the world starts asking, how did you come out of nowhere? You'll know the truth. You didn't come out of nowhere. You came out of the wilderness. You came out of the secret place. Out of the pain that taught you how to lead. Out of the delay that taught you how to wait with wisdom. Out of the silence that taught you how to walk without applause. That kind of power doesn't make noise. It makes history. And that's what you're being prepared for. Not popularity. Legacy. Not just success. Significance. You're not building for likes. You're building for impact. You're not called to blend in. You're called to break chains, to shift atmospheres, to walk into places carrying something weightier than talent, the evidence of development. And that only comes through seasons like this, through choosing growth over speed, submission over spotlight, obedience over optics, because the ones who last, the ones who leave a mark. They didn't skip the silence. They mastered it. So don't wish this season away. Don't pray it ends too soon. Don't rush the harvest. Let it root you. Let it break what needs breaking. Let it show you who you are when the spotlight is gone. Because that is who you'll be when the spotlight comes back. Not the version performing, but the version who's already been proven. And when that version walks out, you won't need to chase what's yours. It will find you. Because God doesn't develop without a reason. Every scar, every delay, every lonely morning, every not yet, it was shaping something you'll need when you rise. So keep building, keep showing up, keep trusting the silence. God isn't slow. He's strategic. He's not withholding. He's weaving, thread by thread, layer by layer. He's preparing the table not just for you, but through you. Because your story isn't just about a breakthrough. It's about becoming the kind of person who can bring breakthrough to others. And that takes time. So breathe, be still, and build because God isn't delaying. He's developing. This is not just about what you're waiting for. It's about what you're willing to become in the waiting. Because delay is not denial, delay is demand. God is demanding your attention, your full surrender, your trust in His rhythm, not your reaction. He's not just asking, can you wait? He's asking, can you wait well? Can you wait with grace instead of grumbling? Can you trust when your hands are empty, but your purpose is full? Can you keep building in private what no one is asking for yet? Because that's where real leaders are made, not in the reward, but in the refining. And maybe right now, no one sees your effort. No one's clapping. No one's calling. No one's validating the late nights, the internal battles, the fight to stay focused. But God sees it. He's counting it. He's multiplying it. Because the hours you think are invisible are the hours He uses to prepare the next move. You see delay. He sees development. You see silence. He sees the setup. And if you saw what He's building behind the scenes, you wouldn't dare rush Him. You'd fall to your knees in gratitude for what He hasn't released yet. Because here's what no one tells you: if you get it too soon, it can destroy you. If you walk into it before the character has caught up to the calling, you'll fold under the weight you begged to carry. So what does He do? He slows you down to grow you up. Because spiritual maturity isn't just about knowledge, it's about capacity. It's about becoming a person who doesn't flinch at responsibility, a person who doesn't shrink when things don't go to plan, a person who shows up with consistency when excitement wears off. That's what development does. It stretches your ceiling without compromising your foundation. And yes, it's hard. It will cost you comfort. It will challenge your need to control. It will force you to give up timelines you idolized. But in exchange, you gain something unshakable. You gain identity that doesn't crumble under rejection. You gain clarity that cuts through confusion. You gain peace not from things working out, but from knowing you're being worked on. Because you're not just being positioned, you're being processed. And the process is never pretty, but it's always necessary. You are not who you were, and you're not yet who you will be. You're in between, and it's easy to get discouraged here. Easy to look back at what's lost. Easy to stare ahead and wonder why it's taking so long. But the in-between is not punishment, it's preparation. The wilderness isn't wasted. It's where warriors are built. Ask Joshua. Before he conquered Jericho, he wandered. Ask Jesus. Before the miracles, he fasted in the desert. And maybe right now, God has you in your own desert, not to break you, but to build your dependency. To teach you that strength doesn't come from speed, it comes from surrender. You don't have to perform your way to favor. You don't have to prove your worth to be promoted. God's not looking for perfection. He's looking for preparation. And sometimes preparation doesn't look like progress. It looks like stillness, like pruning, like repetition so deep it feels like nothing is moving, but inside your spirit. A structure is being formed that nothing can shake. Because when the call comes, when the floodgates open, when the opportunity arrives, it will be too late to become the person who can carry it. So God develops you before it shows up. So when it does, you don't collapse, you rise. And when you rise from a place of truth. You rise from alignment. You rise with an identity that doesn't require applause to keep going. That's what He's doing in you. Not just building the dream, but building the person who can lead it, sustain it, honor it, and not be consumed by it. Because here's the secret. The real test is never whether you'll receive the blessing. The real test is whether you'll become someone who doesn't worship it once it arrives. And the only way to pass that test is to be developed in the dark. So don't despise this darkness. It's not working against you. It's working in you. It's strengthening what success would have skipped. It's maturing what momentum can't touch. It's aligning you with heaven's pace, not man's pressure. And when the moment comes, because it will, you won't have to beg for it. You won't chase it. You won't doubt it. You'll simply walk into it ready, rooted, unshakable. Because by then the work won't be on the outside anymore. It'll be in your blood. It'll be in your mindset. It'll be in the way you talk, the way you move, the way you serve. And the world will say, "How are they so confident, so clear, so composed?" And you'll know. Because while they were watching trends, you were learning how to trust. While they were performing for platforms, you were surrendering to process. You weren't delayed. You were being developed. And one day soon, they're going to see it. Not just what you built, but who you became. And it will make sense. The silence, the stretching, the delay that didn't make sense at the time. They'll say, "It happened so fast." But you'll know the truth. It was years. Years of private discipline. Years of inner war. Years of fighting battles no one else knew existed while you smiled. While you served. While you kept walking with no guarantee it would ever pay off. That's what makes you dangerous now. Because you didn't just survive the process. You submitted to it. You let God strip you. You let Him expose the pride. You let Him kill the need for validation. You let Him empty your hands so He could fill your spirit. You were willing to be hidden, to be humbled, to be passed over. And because you endured that, now you carry something they can't copy. They can mimic your words. They can steal your strategy. But they can't replicate your anointing. Because it wasn't learned, it was forged. In the middle of the pain, in the silence, in the delays that forced you to ask yourself, "Do I still trust Him even if I don't understand Him?" And you did. You stayed. You obeyed. You grew. And now everything is different. Not because the world shifted, but because you did. You're no longer the same. You don't flinch when plans fall through. You don't break when people walk away. You don't panic when the timeline shifts. Because you've learned, you're not in control, but you're always being carried. That's the revelation God gives you in the delay. That peace is not found in perfect timing. It's found in complete trust. And that kind of trust only gets built when you've walked through long seasons where nothing made sense, but you kept walking anyway. So now you walk differently. You speak from depth. You move with precision. You don't ask for permission anymore. You don't wait to be chosen because you already know you were appointed. Not by man, by God. And when God appoints you, delay is never the end. It's just the beginning of something bigger than you had the capacity to imagine. That's why He slowed you down. That's why He held you back. That's why the thing you prayed for didn't come when you wanted it. Because it was never just about the dream, it was about the depth required to sustain it. And now that depth is yours. Now the calling no longer intimidates you. Now the wait no longer scares you. Now you understand why you had to wait, because what you carry now was impossible to rush. God's timing wasn't random, it was a blueprint. Every no was protection. Every not yet was preparation. Every delay was an invitation to go deeper, to get clearer, to grow stronger. And now you know you weren't being overlooked. You were being overhauled. You weren't being forgotten. You were being fortified. You weren't stuck. You were strategically stationed until the moment was ready to match the version of you that could finally walk into it with wholeness. And now when it comes, you'll honor it. You'll multiply it. You'll protect it. Because it cost you something. It cost you ego. It cost you the need to be seen. It cost you every version of yourself that wasn't aligned with destiny. That's what this was all about. This was never a delay. This was God's design. So breathe. You don't have to figure it all out. You don't have to strive. You don't have to chase. You just have to stay aligned, stay planted, stay surrendered. Because the version of you that walks out of this, that version is undeniable. Not because they said so, but because heaven approved it. Because God doesn't waste fire. He uses it. And what you thought would break you was actually what baptized you into strength. You've become someone different now. You're not looking for shortcuts. You're looking for substance. You don't need everything now. You need what's yours when it's right. And when it's right, it will come fast and it will come heavy. But you'll be ready, because you've already been through the dark. You've already paid the price. You've already become what no platform, no title, no opportunity could ever give you. You've become undeniably developed, and no one can take that from you.